I think we are live. We are live on Facebook. And today I want to just share with you 5 steps to closing the back door. Right. So, one of the biggest questions that I've gotten is how do I close the back door? Right? I get first time guests and I get people, but I don't necessarily have a process for getting people to come and stay connected to the church. And so today I'm going to walk you through this 5 step process. By the way, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Pastor Ariel. I'm a former discipleship pastor of a pretty large church in New York City. I'm also the founder of Thrive Church Coaching, where my heart's desire is to help small church pastors of churches less than 500, turn first-time guests into fully mature disciples. And today I'm going to walk you through 5 key steps to help you to start closing the back door. Because one of the biggest questions that I keep getting, and one of the challenges that I see is now that we have first-time guests, now that people are coming into the building for the first time, how do I get them to stay? How do I get them to actually connect to the church? And many pastors are struggling with what we call the back door. The back door is just simply this idea of people are coming to the church, but they're not staying, right? They're not staying. They come in and then they leave. They come in and they leave. And so what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to find a way to not only get people to come to the church, but we want them to come back. And eventually we want them to connect and we want them to grow and we want them to become mature disciples. And so I'm going to share my screen so that way I can walk you through this process. And this is a process that I've put together, and I'm excited to just kind of walk you through.
Chicago Gang.
Whoops.
Chicago.
I think we are live. We are live
Okay,
on
my video
Facebook.
is
And today I
playing.
want to just share with you. Sorry, there we go. Okay, so I'm trying to share my screen and I'm just having a little bit of a challenge here. Uh, so I'm just going to log into Canva real quick. And that way I can share my screen with you because I want to walk you through these 5 specific steps. And honestly, these steps, what makes these steps important is that these steps actually are going to help you to really begin to identify what you need to be doing. And so presenter here, let's see if I can, boom. Okay, got it. And can I share this with you guys? Can I just be, this is my first time doing it, going live on YouTube. And so forgive me if I screw some things up. I'm not as professional, but I am figuring some of this stuff out as we go ahead. Okay. So how do we keep the families that we've reached? Right? If you've ever followed me, if you've heard me talk a little bit, I talk about growing churches have 3 specific steps, right? Step number 1 is making sure that you reach more people with the gospel. Step number 2 is that you keep the families you've reached. And then step number 3 is that you grow the families you've kept. Okay, so you reach, you keep, and then you grow them. And so specifically in this video, I want to walk you through 5 steps so you can begin keeping people. You can close the back door and keep your guests. And believe it or not, the first step of keeping more people, of closing the back door, actually begins with creating a welcoming environment. And so when we talk about creating a welcoming environment, what we're saying is we want as many people as possible to feel at home in your church, right? And a welcoming environment could include your congregation, how they greet people. It can include your usher teams and your follow-up teams and your greeters, and if you have an information desk and how you do announcements and even your preaching, the worship, all of it speaks to the experience that your guests are going to have and whether they want to return or not. Okay. So step number 1 is you've got to create a welcoming environment. You've got to help people feel at home. You've got to help people feel comfortable and connected to your church. Here's step number two. Step number two is once people come to your church for the first time, you want to then be able to follow up with them. And so following up with them requires a couple of things. Step number one is you want to make sure that you are actually getting their contact information. I don't know if this ever happened to you, but I'm married 21 years. And believe it or not, part of being married 21 years means that there was a date and time that I found this young lady interesting, and I had to ask her for a phone number, right? Because there was no way for me to connect with her and follow up with her any other way but then having a phone number. And then once we exchanged numbers, we also jumped on what was it? AIM? Was it AIM? Insta something. It was one of those programs where you just kind of message each other. It was one of those, I think it was through Yahoo. And eventually, right, because there was follow-up, we were able to take next steps in our relationship. And so if your follow-up process, number one, you've got to figure out a way to get their contact information. Okay, so that's step number one. Step number two is you want to reach out to them with the goal of building trust. Okay, and what I mean by building trust, I don't mean, hey, do you want to become a member of our church tomorrow? Like that's not building trust. What that typically is us kind of asking them to marry us, or we're proposing on the first date. So you want to follow a process that builds trust, right? And one of the things I love to do, it is a tip. One of the things I love to do in our follow-up process is we typically go about 4 weeks. There's some email, some text messages. My favorite text message is, how can I pray for you? Okay. Typically I send it the week 2, and it's, how can I pray for you? Why is this so important? Because I want to serve them. I want to serve their needs, their issues. I want them to know that I am in their corner, that God has strategically positioned me in such a way where I'm in their corner. And let me just say one more thing. When it comes to following up with them, what I typically see is people will say, hey, after the service, go here, or hey, here's a link, go online. I do not like those things, because what I want to do is I want to do almost all of the work and make it as easy as possible for them to connect with me. And again, I keep thinking of the time where I was connecting with this young lady, and who today's my wife, and I was the one who was asking her for her phone number. I was the one who was, pursuing her. It was my responsibility to connect with her. And so this is where, again, for us, I want us to see ourselves as, we're the ones who have the ministry of reconciliation. We're the ones who have the responsibility to reach out, to get their information, to, just make it as easy as possible to connect with people. Okay, so that's step number 2. Okay, step number 2. Step number 3. Step number 3 is this. You want to be able to do what we call a meet and greet. And so a meet and greet, you can do it once a month. You can do it once a week. This is an opportunity for people to connect with you and get to know you better. You as a pastor, your team, your leaders, this is an opportunity for us to get to know you better. Okay, so you can do, during a meet and greet, you can exchange information. You can invite them to take next steps. You can invite them to join a small group, but the goal is to build some sort of rapport with them. Okay. Step number 4 is, now that they've gone to the meet and greet, what we want to do is we want to host a membership class or some sort of decision where now they're actually coming closer to the church. So there's a membership class. This could be, maybe there's a Bible study you want to do. The idea is that there's a point in time where you said to them, hey, I'm interested. And are you interested in us? Right. And this is the point in time where now they are saying to you, hey, yeah, I'm down. I want to be a part of this. Hey, I want to join this church. I want to learn more. Hey, and so whether it's a membership class, or you have some sort of other next step, this is what you want to do. And then the last thing is we want to onboard new members. So when people start to commit to the church and they say, hey, I want to be a part of this church. I want to know, I want to learn more about what you're doing. And you say, okay, great. Let's get you in there. And so now we lead them to what's called an onboarding. And what this is all about is people are joining a ministry, but we want them to stay in the ministry long term. And people stay in ministry for three specific reasons. Okay. Number one, people stay because of relationships. They feel connected to people. They feel like, man, these are my homies. This is the church I belong in. Number two, because of purpose. They feel like every time they serve, it's not just a win for the ministry, but it's a personal win. I'm wired to do these things. I'm wired to, serve in this capacity. So what we want to be able to do is make sure that people are in ministries that they are wired and gifted to serve in. And then the last thing, number three, is people stay in ministry because of knowledge. Now, what does that mean? What that means is they know what is expected of them. A couple of years ago, I was overseeing our information center and resource area. And I remember that there was an announcement. It was a Sunday. They made an announcement and they said, hey, go sign up in the back. When I heard the announcement, I was like, oh gosh, I never had communicated those expectations to our information desk. And so when I went back there, I said to them, hey guys, we got to make sure X, Y, and Z. And the person who was back there was so frustrated because all of a sudden, what was a peaceful Sunday turned into frenzy because I did not communicate the information ahead of time to them. And in about another week or two, they actually ended up stepping down. Why? Because people stay in ministry, number one, because of relationships. They stay in ministry, number two, because of purpose. And then number three, people stay in ministry because of the information. They know what's expected of them. Okay. So at this point, I gave you an overview of 5 specific steps. Number one, welcoming new families, right? Number two, following up with these new families. Number three, a meet the pastor. Number four, a membership class or joining the church family. And then number 5, an onboarding process to get people to join and stay connected in a ministry. So here's what I want you to do. If you've watched this video to the end, in the comments below, let me know which area you need the most help with. Let me know. That way I can create more videos where we go deeper on each specific topic. So if it's number one, type number one. Hey, I need more help with welcoming new families, or I need more help with following up with new families, or hey, I don't even know what the meet the pastor thing is, or I need a membership class, or hey, I need to onboard. How do I onboard? How do I get people to join and stay connected in the ministry? All right, so we've walked you through these 5 specific steps. And I hope that you start to see that, as we kind of start developing these steps and we start investing in these steps, people are going to come and they're going to stay connected to the ministry. Because ultimately, our goal isn't just to connect people, and it's definitely not just to reach people, but it's to help them grow in their faith. All right, that's it for now. Thank you for joining me so much, and so excited to be able to just be able to share with you some of the key components of being able to connect